Whoa, sorry about that. I went out for some reason. All right, I'm just going to start over. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. If you are unfamiliar with this show, let me tell you what this show is about. So, this is the show where we like to have that real talk, you guys. We like to take those conversations that you only talk about with your mama, you only talk about with your daddy, with your friends, with your coworkers. We like to take those conversations and put all that out in the open, not for the purpose of gossip, of course. This is not a gossip hot topics, but this is for education. This is for learning as we are a tutoring company. We are a step ahead tutoring services. So this is the show where we teach you and we educate you. And we believe that people's business can be a learning tool, right? So, welcome to Hot Topics. And today is no different than any other day. So, let me tell you what's going to happen today. So, today we are going to have a discussion on, let me look for this banner. There's it is. So, we're going to be talking about double standards, right? So, we are going to talk about what it is, what are some examples, and what can we do about it, right? And I am particularly excited about talking about double standards because I have a guest with me who's going to help me with this discussion. I am especially excited about this guest because I have known this guest since high school. So this is my very first guest that I didn't just meet within the past 30 days. All right. So this is my first guest that I have known for many years. And she has decided to come on down. And I am excited to bring my first guest who is a longtime friend of mine. Her name is Jonisha Jones. And I am going to tell you about her. So let's get right into it. Who is Jonisha Jones? Let me tell you who she is. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to pull up her bio. Okay, there it is. So her name is Jonisha, and she is a native New Yorker, woo, woo, currently living in the South. All right. She recently started a podcast, which is called Scoff, Another Damn Podcast, as a way to discuss topics that were important to her. She enjoys photography, astrology, and travel. I forgot about that. Oh, I keep flashing in and out. Sorry, you guys. Okay, so let me just mention she has a podcast called Scoff, Another Damn Podcast. You can listen to her podcast on Anchor, Spotify. I think it's on Apple. There's a few other places that you can listen to her podcast. So I encourage you to check it out when you have a chance. It is called Scoff, Another Damn Podcast. So I just wanted to make that quick plug in there. Okay, let's get right into it. So I'm just gonna bring her to the stage. Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Okay, so we're just gonna get right into it. So we're going to be talking about double standards.
Hmm.
So I wanted to talk about this because you had a show on your podcast where you talked about double standards, and I wanted to lead in with that. So, can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for having me on the show, girl. Yes, we've known each other since high school. We're older now, but I think it's interesting that we're both doing the podcast thing now. But as far as the episode that I did on my show, so right now I'm doing a series on my podcast, Another Damn Podcast. And right now I'm doing a 10 episode series on Are We Still Protecting Black Women Or? So every week I pick a Black woman in social media or in the social media world that I feel is not being protected in a sense because of this slogan that's been kind of coming out there, right? Or, protect the Black women, protect the Black women. We see that everywhere. And anytime something happens, the first thing we see, especially to a Black woman, the first thing social media is asking us to do is to protect her, no matter the cost. But then we have certain Black women that I feel aren't being protected. So on my very first episode, which is the one I think you listened to, it was, are we still protecting Black women, or is Lori Harvey a hoe? Now I know that sounds harsh, right? Because it definitely sounds like I'm calling Lori Harvey a hoe, but I'm not calling her that at all. I am just doing some perspective, because when she broke up with Michael B. Jordan, it seemed like everyone just kind of turned against her, and she was the bad guy, and she was this hoe, and he should have known better to get with her. And it was just kind of like her. So I kind of felt like there was a double standard in the way social media reacted to their breakup. I kind of felt like social media just kind of turned on her. She's a young girl, she's a young Black woman, and I felt like at some point in time, all of a sudden the blame went on to her, the female. There was no blame on Michael B. Jordan, and I was trying to figure out why that was. And more so, like you say, this show is for like educational purposes and to give perspective. So I was really trying to give people some perspective on why that was. Like, why did we immediately just jump down Lori Harvey's throat and not possibly think that maybe they just had a breakup, maybe things didn't just work out? Why was it that all of a sudden Lori Harvey was just this big hoe? So that's where that stemmed from.
All right, I think we have to recap that story for the
Okay.
people who are not into pop culture like that. Can you
Okay.
just briefly recap the whole Michael B. Jordan, Lori Harvey scenario? Well, not scenario, but big not shindig, big event that
Of
just
course.
happened. So
Of
you'll have
course.
to recap for you'll have to recap for the people who have no idea what's going on.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. And honestly, I mean, I didn't know what was going on myself. It was just, how social media is. I kind of get my news from social media. Anything that's happening in the world, if there's a war going on, I'll find out from social media. And if there's a breakup going on, I'll find out from social media. So that's actually how I found out. So it was all these memes going around. Lori Harvey, if you don't know, she is the daughter or stepdaughter of Steve Harvey. He's the guy from Family Feud and Kings of Comedy. So that's his daughter. And Michael B. Jordan, he is an actor. He's known for his roles in Creed 1, 2. I think there's a third one. And most recently, he was in Black Panther. He was the villain in the first Black Panther. So that's kind of like, and I think, no, he's known for like much more movies. If I'm not mistaken, he was in another, like a TV show. So he's an actor. He's an actor. She's a model. And they have a 10-year age difference, which I talked about on the show once I was doing some like investigation on, why she was being called a hoe. So Lori Harvey, she's dated a lot of famous, I guess, rappers. She's been linked to Future. She's been linked to Diddy. She's been linked to Diddy's son, and she's been linked to some other stars, right? So before getting with Michael B. Jordan, she was kind of seen, I guess, as like the hoe, or just the girl that everybody's just getting with and kind of tossing her to the side. And it didn't look too good that she had possibly dated Diddy's son and then dated Diddy right after. Now, there was no confirmation on those, but we all know how social media works. So when she got with Michael B. Jordan, it was just kind of like, oh, well, now she's with Michael B. Jordan. She's in a little bit more stable situation. He's a good fit for her. Michael B. Jordan's this great guy. We don't know why he is, but he's just a great guy. He's awesome. And, now they're together. Well, eventually, after a year of dating, they break up. And according to sources, she broke up with him after he proposed to her. So what social media did with that information was, again, like I said, all of a sudden she was just this big hoe. How could she turn down his proposal? Why would she not want to be with him? It's Michael B. Jordan. He's a good guy. And that's when all of a sudden it was just all these pictures and all these memes about her going on. And that's how it caught my attention to want to do the episode on her.
So, one double standard that comes to mind as you were talking, because I also didn't know too much about this until it blew up on the social media on the interwebs, um, is the fact that she was dating multiple men
Hmm.
in a short period of time, and I think the the double standard there is about a woman who is able to have a woman who has multiple sexual partners, is looked at as a hoe,
Hmm.
as opposed to men who have, excuse me, multiple sexual partners is looked at as a playa, as um, as he's as a I don't not an accomplishment, but it's a big deal for a guy to have multiple women at the same time or in a short period of time, one after the other, as opposed to a woman who has multiple men at the same time or men one after the other is looked at as like a sexual deviant, a hoe, a slut, a whore. So that's the double standard as you were talking that came to mind. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that that's always been the most highlighted double standard in social media and just in the world in general. It's just, I think that's the biggest one people pay attention to is the sexual thing because we've seen a lot of conversations about that. I think Amber Rose, she started this whole like slut walk and hoe walk movement, with girls kind of changing that standard and just kind of wanting to be out there more sexually and wanting to be able to express themselves sexually and freely without being judged by it. I mean, we see a lot of, I know when it comes to the music industry, female rappers, female artists, certain songs that they're singing about, certain things that they're talking about on a sexual level, at times it's not taken to such a it's not seen as so cool and invigorating when a woman is doing it. We saw that recently with Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion with their WAP song, right? They were talking about sex and they were talking about their vaginas and and of course it wasn't, a lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people thought that, where they're supposed to be role models and, Cardi B's a mom. Why is she talking about stuff like this? But we've heard if you listen to rap, if you listen to hip hop, men are always talking about sex. They're always talking about what they do with women, how many women they've been with. That's always the conversation, and it's never an issue. It's never a well, how come they're doing that and they shouldn't be they're role models. Why are they talking about this? Young boys are listening to them. They're not held to as high a standard as a female would when it comes to sex or when it comes to them expressing themselves sexually. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's funny. Just I'm sorry. Another pop culture thing that came to me, the story about Ti and his daughter, how he made his oldest daughter go to a gynecologist to check if she was a virgin. I don't know if you know about that. But he has a son that's younger than her, and I think he's like 15 and he's already having sex, but he's not on top of him about that. But when it comes to the older daughter, he's making sure that she's still a virgin, by taking her to a gynecologist. And um, I don't know if you're aware of that whole debacle.
I heard about it. I thought he said he was just joking. I didn't look too much into it, but I know that caused the media frenzy, of course, because it's like, well, why is he getting in? Why is there such an emphasis on making sure she keeps her virginity? And I think even the topic of virginity, holds a big double standard, and an alarming one too, because I've seen when it comes to the topic of virginity, a lot of boys have discuss losing their virginity, as young as 11, to 16-year-old women or 13, losing their virginity to their babysitters who were 16 and they're applauded for that stuff, right? There was a meme going around of a picture of a little boy, or I think there was a scenario of like, would you be okay with your son having sex with his middle school teacher, if she was attractive, as opposed to, your daughter having sex with their middle school teacher? And of course, a lot of men said, they would applaud their sons for having sex with a middle school teacher. But if they found out their daughter was having sex with a middle school teacher, it would be, they'd kill the teacher. The teacher has to go to jail. So yeah, and when it comes to just sex and virginity, and we definitely, the double standards all around, definitely on that topic.
Yeah, yeah. And even when it comes to virginity, um, it's again, see, as we're talking, all these things are coming up. Um, so even with the talk about virginity in terms of, a woman holding on to her virginity until she's in her 30s and 40s is, well, I think that one is twofold. I think there's the sexual double standard, and then there's the age double standard, and that
Right.
and that women are expected to hold on to their virginities later on in life as opposed to men. And when you find out that men are still virgins in their 20s and 30s, they're looked at as pussies, as weak.
Right.
Like, what do you like? What's wrong with you?
Right.
But then there's the ageism part. Is like, okay, but if a woman's still in her 40s and still a virgin, okay, she's weird. So
Right. Right.
that's a twofold thing. So what are your thoughts on that?
No, yeah, that's true too. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say that. I mean, at my job recently, there was a guy, I think he was like 26, and I found out not that he was a virgin, but that he had only had sex with two women. And he was he was an attractive young guy, college, had a job, obviously, right? Federal job at that. He had his own car. So he was pretty established. So it was shocking to me to find out that he had only had sex with two women at 26 years old. I literally, I was like, are you, are you okay? Do you like women? Like I'm over here questioning him instead of applauding him, for the fact that, he's still not a virgin, but he's not having sex with hundreds of women by the time he's 26, because that's normally, the numbers thing. I know we're kind of segueing all over the place, but the numbers thing is also a double standard, right? Because men are applauded, and I think you mentioned this earlier, for having multiple sexual partners, right? So if a guy is 26 and he only had sex with two women, even women would question him and they judge him. But then it's like, where's the median? Because then if he had sex with 100 women, you know, that means that he's wanted, but then possibly he'd be looked at as a hoe as well, or just someone that you possibly wouldn't want to tie someone down like that, because that's a big number, as opposed to a female. I think there is an actress, if you know her, from Insecure, Yvonne Orji, I think that's her name, but she's Molly on Insecure. In real life, she is a virgin, as far as last time I checked. And I believe she's in her 40s or late 30s. And I know a lot of people were shocked to find that out because, she's an actress. So during Insecures, if you've seen it, there are sexual scenes that she's been a part of. So, people found it interesting that she was able to act out scenes of things that she's never done before. But she talks about her reasoning for holding out. She's Christian and she wants to wait until marriage. And I believe there was a football player like that as well. I think Tim Tebow, he was holding out. So we're hearing about it. We're hearing about it more, but I think there is still a big double standard with, how old you are, how many partners you've had, your reasonings for holding out on your virginity or whatever the case may be. But it's never usually for men. It's usually if you're still a virgin, at a certain age, something's wrong with you. For women, sometimes men like that more, but then it's like if you're in your 30s, then it's too much. And then also when we look at the numbers for women, men want women with lower numbers, and women want men with not too high of a number, but not too low either. And it all depends on your preferences, because some people are opposite. Some people don't care about the numbers. Some people care about the numbers. But you'll always see a double standard when it comes to men and women, no matter what, no matter, whether you care about, if it's numbers you're caring about or age you're caring about. There's going to be a difference in the qualifications for a woman and a man.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know there's like three other examples I can list, but I think um, the point of when it comes to double standards, particularly in the area of sex and relationships, which is where we're focusing on, is that there seems to be like this this expectation that women are supposed to be, I don't want to say repressed. I want to say that they're supposed to be like kept together and um not 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 so liberating when it comes to sexual expression, sexual freedom, as opposed to, I guess, restrained. I guess is the word I'm thinking of. That
Mhm.
women are expected to be more restrained sexually. Um, I hope that's the right word I'm thinking. As opposed to men, that they're expected to be more freer, more
Yeah.
unhinged, all over the place. So it's like there's like a hidden a secret hidden message
Yeah.
and all of these double standards that women are supposed to be in one place, and as opposed to men are supposed to be in multiple places.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, I mean, and when you bring up like relationships, there, I mean, there's double standards in that as well. And it is not just women that are kind of uh bearing the blunt of the double standards. It's men too. And I have these conversations with my friends all the time because the majority of my friends are males. So I can see both sides, but even just with in relationships, down to just courting, right? Men are expected to spend the money on the women and take them out, and the more he spends, the more he likes you, or the more he does, the more he's into you. But sometimes, men, they face the risk of spending $200 $300 on a female that doesn't really like them, right? That's just kind of going out with them for the sake of a meal, or just for the sake of being taken out, just for the sake of validation, to kind of like fuel their insecurity, not really for the sake of really liking this guy for who he is. And unfortunately, men are also expected to maybe be more financially stable sometimes than women, right? Like, they got to have a car, they got to have a nice place, they have to have a job, right? As opposed to women. And that's not all the time, but we've seen it where, there could be a woman that doesn't have a job, that, doesn't really have much going on with herself, but the expectation is for the man to be established, right? So we see, so it's not to say that it's just women only that are kind of like facing the double standards, but in relationship to, we're kind of seeing that, you know, double-edged sword with what men are supposed to do, what women are supposed to do. It's just kind of like a never-ending circle of things.
Yeah, yeah, it does hurt both sides because I think it puts pressure on men um to be successful, to be the, I guess, the aggressor, the
Yeah.
one that approaches the women. Like, even now, as women are making more money than men, I think
Hmm.
there's still the expectation of, okay, well, um the man is supposed to, I think I will say it's starting to shift more the more that
Yeah.
we talk about it. But like, even, women are now making more money, but the expectation is still there. Oh, the man is supposed to take care of the woman, and the we're having that conversation about, you know, now that women are the breadwinners of the family and women are making more money and women are, um, holding down the house more, and it's not so much on the man anymore, then it falls more on the women in terms of, like, the woman should be the one paying for dinner if you make more money, or the woman should be the one,
Right.
um, um, being the aggressor, right?
Right.
So I guess it is starting to shift, I think, but I think there's a resistance in that there's still that hidden message about, well, the man should be the one in charge, even
Right.
though the woman makes more money. It, so it can be confusing.
Right, right. And not only confusing, it can be unfair, at times because I mean, right now gas is high. Okay, everything's high, rent is high. So a lot of couples, even though some people may have something negative to say about that, there are people who are living just well enough where, let's say, the woman makes more money, so maybe she'll pay the rent and the man will cover the other expenses, or vice versa, or the whoever makes more, they'll cover. So people are doing what works for them, but of course, people are still having something to say about it. I mean, there are women proposing now, right? That's something that was a phenomenon you would have never thought of a woman doing, getting down on her knees and proposing to a man. I'm still not too sure how I feel about it, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it goes into the shift that you're talking about. A lot of things are changing. We're not our grandparents anymore, right? And even our great grandparents, we don't have those dynamics where only grandpa worked and grandma stayed home and cooked. There are women who don't even like cooking anymore. They're not, we don't have those same values when it comes to relationships that there was in the past. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think we have to kind of, um what's the word, like, evolve with the times, so that evolution is going to happen in all aspects, and relationships and household dynamics and all things. So I think it is just coming with there is a shift happening with resistance. And I think that resistance is what we're seeing in social media with what happened with Lori Harvey and what happens to a lot of people on social media. I think that's where we're starting to really see that resistance to the shifts that are happening.
Yeah, and with my understanding of what happened with Lori Harvey, it's not like she was poor, like she was
Right.
rich,
Right.
she had a lot of money, so she was in the position to make a lot of decisions for herself. And
Right.
I mean, I don't know if it was money that she made or it was an inheritance, we don't know, but the fact is, she had money to make decisions, to make her own decisions. And I think when it comes to women that earn a lot more money, that gives them a lot more power to make their own decisions.
Hmm.
And some, unfortunately, some men don't really like that.
Yeah.
Because it's, you're not dependent on the man anymore, and the man's not in charge anymore. Um, it's, she can easily just get a cab and walk away, as opposed to
Hmm.
back in the old days, women women married men for like a financial transaction, or
Right.
like a deal with the parents and stuff like that. But now that women are making more money, they have more power, and because they have more power, they're able to do things that never expected to do, and there seems to be a resistance with that. So, do you think that, I'm wondering if Lori, if she wasn't Steve Harvey's daughter, if she was some random girl on the street, um, would she still get the same treatment?
Um, I think I don't know, because I think all celebrities get different treatment from any regular person on the street, right? So I think I don't I don't know if maybe if she was like an Instagram model, where her father wasn't someone that was so well known. I don't know if that would have mattered. I think because she's a woman and because Michael B. Jordan is attractive, because like I said, I talked about that in the podcast, she was really being judged for not saying yes to a proposal by Michael B. Jordan. And we don't know anything about Michael B. Jordan to really say that she had to say yes. Because, like you said, she had her own money, she has her own career. So it's not like um, this relationship would have made or break her. So we don't know why she said no. We don't know. All we know is that society decided that she was supposed to say yes. And since she didn't say yes, she is now the villain. Now, I didn't touch on this in my podcast, but I do wonder, when it comes to that, is it women that created that narrative, right? Because I saw some comments where men were saying, like, well, if he ends up with a white woman, don't be upset. Or you guys are always begging for a relationship and marriage, and here it is, you get it. She had a good guy and she turned him down. So now she should be by herself. And I think we put celebrities, I think a lot of people project their wants and their idea of relationship and their idea of how life should be on celebrities, that when it doesn't go the way we pictured it was supposed to be, we have to create a villain. I mean, celebrity lifestyle, I guess, it's not real, right? It's always orchestrated in some way, like movies. So for us, it's like, okay, in terms of now with this scene or this part of the show, she's breaking up with the good guy, she's the villain now. So I don't know if the reasoning why we turned against her so quickly is because of the narrative that we see on social media of a lot of single women, wanting relationships, wanting a good guy, wanting, a guy to sweep them off their feet, wanting a financially stable guy, right? Wanting an attractive guy. All of the things that Michael B. Jordan essentially is supposed to be, she finally got that, and she, ruined it in a sense. So I think maybe women could also be to blame for that, the way she was kind of villainized in a sense. But again, I think there's no real way to kind of like balance it out on who would get the blame in that situation. But yeah.
I think you bring up a fair point. I think women are the worst when it comes to other women.
Yeah.
And because I think women, like you said, women project their desires onto other people. So, you know, women want like the good guy. Well, some women. Let me watch my words. They want the good guy. They want marriage. They want kids, and here's somebody that has all that. So that says something about Michael B. Jordan and how women worship him.
Right.
Um, and the fact that, I mean, yeah, uh, Black Panther, hello, right?
Right.
So because of how women worship him and how they want him, and they see him as a prize, as a trophy, as
Right.
that's the dude from
Right.
Black Panther. Why would you not hang on to him?
Right.
It's saying
Mhm.
something about the movie Black Panther. I don't know if I want to go there. This is saying something saying about Michael B. Jordan. I don't know if I want to
Mhm.
go there. But the fact that we worship Michael B. Jordan and we
Right.
worship the Black Panther movie, I'm gonna say that. I think it we put so much value on these things, and so so when someone like Lori Harvey, they probably was like, who's this girl?
Right.
But they she snagged Michael B. Jordan, like, whoa, that's surprise, that's whoa, sorry. She snagged the prize,
Right.
um and then she didn't hold on to him. Women just went after her. So I think it also, maybe it's not so much a little bit a double standard, but I think it's more so about how women worship. male celebrities and even black male celebrities. So that's there. That's something there.
Yeah, I think that I think that you bring up a good point about, people seeing him as a prize. And like I said, I think because he's attractive, because he has money, because he's an actor, those are the only attributes that we gave him as having a prize. But I would think, why wouldn't Lori be a prize as well? I mean, she's a beautiful girl. She's successful in her own right, even outside of Steve Harvey. She seemed to have a business for herself. I think she launched like some kind of makeup or something. I think there was like some big thing going on between her and the Kardashians because of the name of her like makeup line. They're all similar. But I would think she's a prize as well. So, but unfortunately for her, her her past relationships are out in the public for everyone to see and scrutinize, right? So now we have X marks next to her. I know some people do this when they go to a restaurant and they have a certain amount of money that they're going to give the waiter, right? So let's say I put $10 down, but every time that waiter makes a mistake, I take $1 away. So here we have Lori and Michael B. Jordan. They're both starting off with $10, but we don't know anything about Michael B. Jordan's past. I haven't heard anything about who he's dated. When I did my investigation for the podcast, I didn't really find there wasn't much out there about him and his past relationships. But unfortunately for Lori, there was. So it's like, okay, she's been with Future, $1 taken away. She was with Diddy, $1 taken away. She did this, $1 taken away. You know what I'm saying? So it was just kind of easy to scrutinize her based on her past, and a past that we don't know if she wanted out there. How did we find out she was with Future? How did we find out that she dated Diddy possibly and his son possibly? We've seen a lot of, when it comes to bullying between teenagers and kids. I mean, what's the main thing that goes on? There's a picture of a girl that went out of her naked, or a video goes out of her that she didn't know, or something she put out in private. So I think that also goes back to just in terms of people wanted women to be modest, right? But yet we have the first thing that people do, or whenever they get the chance to kind of attack a woman, is, well, not even a woman, but just a female in general. Something is being leaked about her sexuality or about her body, pictures of her. That's normally the weapon that's used against a woman. Or she's a gold digger. There's always something that men kind of use to weaponize against a woman when they're not doing, I guess, what we what they want us to be doing.
Right, right. And I think it, in a way, what I was saying before about women are expected to be more sexually restrained. And I think
Mm-hmm.
the fact that um, Lori Harvey was villainized for what happened, I think um, it it I'm trying to think about it, but just the fact that Michael B. Jordan was again seen as this prize, as this golden
Yeah.
trophy, and she was expected to take advantage of that, as opposed. I mean, and then granted, she is an unknown. I mean, okay, she's Steve Harvey's daughter. Okay, that's it. We don't really know her, so I guess the fact that she's unknown and she was with a few other celebrities. Um, that I mean, that didn't really. I mean, Diddy and the Son and Future, that didn't really make her explode in the media. But when she was with Michael B. Jordan, okay, she exploded there. So I think, again, that goes into the way we worship Michael B. Jordan. But I think just in general, in terms of, um, women are, we we don't like it in general when women are sexual creatures, and um, when we have multiple, when we see, even if it's guy after guy after guy, this, it seems to be demonized when women are, when they pursue those sexual desires,
Hmm.
as to opposed to men that uh, they get praised for that kind of behavior. But then again, it hurts both genders, because you know when you have a guy who's like, I don't really want to be out there like that, people look at him like a freak of nature, like, what's wrong with you?
Hmm.
And even worse, they look at him as a homosexual, like, oh, you don't want to pursue all these women, why are you gay? And so now homosexuality gets weaponized. So I think it hurts
Yeah.
both sides, I think. Um and it's just interesting how, if a woman is, if she has multiple partners, she's looked at as a slut and a whore. But then a man is praised for having multiple partners. But when he doesn't have multiple partners, he's looked at as fruity, as
Hmm.
weak, as gay, as
Yep.
opposed to. And it's just funny how men get the homosexual label, as opposed to women, they're falling in line, when they don't have that many partners. So I think it hurts both ways.
Yeah, because I think maybe modesty and, like not wanting to sleep with a lot of people, I think that as a society, we've made that a feminine trait. So I think if there's a man out there that's, wanting to wait until he's married or wanting to be, kind of like particular about his sexual partners and stuff, I think it is easier to use that he's possibly a homosexual as a way to kind of demean him, because of the fact that it's more so it's something that we want females to do. We want females to be cautious and not have that many sexual partners. So if we're associating that with a female trait, then of course, yeah, a man doing it is going to be seen as, oh well, possibly he's homosexual or his dick is little or whatever, you can think of to just kind of anything that we can kind of use as a weapon against him, for sure they're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we got to start to wind things down now, but I think just in general, when it comes to double standards, and again, I know we just focused on sex and relationships, there's so many other double standards in so many other arenas, but for this one, I think it's like men have to be the aggressors, um and the ones in charge of the family, and I think, and the women are supposed to be more of the supportive role in the background. But as things shift, as women are working more and earning more money, we're seeing those dynamics shift, I think. So
Yeah.
um, we're seeing, like I said, women making more money, men are staying home more.
Right.
There's a lot of Mr. Dads, right? So there's a lot of stay-at-home dads now. We
Mm-hmm.
see those roles shifting as women become more um, financially independent, I
Mm-hmm.
think, and because those roles are shifting, um, the sexual expectations are shifting, I
Right.
think, and because those roles are shifting, you still have that resistance, I think, to the shift. So,
Yeah.
um, what do you think of that?
I think you're right. I think there's a lot of shifts that are happening. Like you said, men are staying home more. I mean, there's paternity leave now as opposed to maternity leave, where they're allowing men now to kind of stay home with their kids, which I think that it's important. But, men are judged for that. Men are judged if they are stay at home dads, because of their roles. Their role is supposed to be the provider and the one that's out there making the money. So it hurts them also in terms of questioning their manhood and questioning their ability to provide for their families, because they're not doing what we as a society is saying that they're supposed to be doing, which again, I think on the men's part, just like I mentioned earlier with women and us kind of wanting that fantasy of, the perfect guy and the financial guy and the hot guy and this and that, we have this idea of how we want men to be. um I think men have also created the narrative of like, okay, well, I'm the provider, I'm the man of the house, I'm this and that. And unfortunately now, because of how our grandparents and great grandparents, how they defined roles, now that we're trying to change those things, it is kind of causing backlash and all ends, because now, you know, someone's sexuality is being questioned just for them wanting to not have sex or want to stay home with their kids. And it shouldn't be that extreme. It shouldn't be that extreme. It should just be, oh, that's cool, he wants to stay home with his family. Oh, that's cool, his wife, his wife wants to work and she likes to work. There are women out there that don't like the stay at home mom life. I did both. I worked full and I stayed at home. And I didn't really like staying at home. I liked working, but both jobs are hard, being a stay at home mom and being a, working mom. And I think that the same would apply for a man that wants to stay home. I think it would be just as hard for him to stay home with kids and work with kids, just like it would be for a woman. So I do see how like all of it is kind of like transitioning, and I guess it would kind of go into, the next. I know you were wondering like, well, how do we fix that and how do we change that? Uh, like the view on double standards.
Yes, yes. Let's. Time is going. So let's let. We may not have time of words of wisdom. We may have to do a part two of this. Um. All right. So how do we fix that? I personally think it takes time to fix it because again, it's I think the more that women become financially independent, the more I guess sexually free women are. So I think it's how to fix it. I think it takes time because you got to. It starts with the younger generations.
Mm-hmm,
It's all
mm-hmm,
in the mentality of it's the way that your parents think as opposed to your grandparents think. It's the way that your great grandparents think. I think we have to shift that mentality with our kids,
mm-hmm,
and they'll shift that mentality with their kids. So I think when it comes to boys, if we let's teach boys that you don't have to be, it's if you want to stay a virgin, I mean, this is my personal opinion. Um, that if you want to stay a virgin, it's okay. You don't have to have sex with 20 and 30 girls. You don't have to have so many partners. Um, it's you if you still I mean, I gotta think about it. I gotta think about what I'm trying to say. But even with women, we teach them, hey, it's okay to if you want to make more money than a man, it's okay. If you want to be sexually expressive, it's okay.
mm-hmm,
So I think it's teaching our children the those shifting ideals, teaching
mm-hmm.
them that you don't have to follow these double standards, and then the more that we teach people, and then it'll continue. But you'll still have the older heads that think differently. But I think it's more about changing the future generations. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think that for us, like our generation, I think we have to reprogram our minds and we have to be reflective and ask ourselves, why can a man stay home? Why does a man have to have 100 partners? Why does a woman have to have only two partners? Like we have to question ourselves and gain some perspective. And I think that's kind of like in all the episodes that I do on my podcast with the Are We Protecting Black Women, I never give a definitive, well, this is the answer. It's perspective, reflective. We need to start asking ourselves these questions. Why are we still holding on to these ideals and values and kind of traumas in a sense, because some of these rules just kind of are just people's way of handling their own trauma or handling their own insecurities, right? It's like I'm going to set this definition on what a woman is supposed to be because of my own insecurities on getting women or being around women. And as far as, like you said, with our kids, it's something that we have to kind of change their thinking on so they can kind of broaden the horizons, right? So with my kids, I don't push like getting married to my daughter, either one of my kids. I would like for them to have a family, but I don't make that, the ideal. Because, with little girls, finding Prince Charming is pushed in them in the movies, Disney movies and stuff like that, which I don't even let my kids watch. My kids have never seen Snow White. They've never seen Cinderella. I think they saw Little Mermaid. It was without me. I like them watching movies like Zootopia and Inside Out and, movies that are talking to them about expressing their feelings and that are talking about injustices, but they're using the cartoons as a way to express that, as opposed to watching a movie or watching a TV show that's all centered around falling in love and, building a family and stuff. I kind of want them to do what they want to do in terms of that. And definitely with my son, teaching him to respect women, no matter what they're doing, and teaching my daughter to respect herself in terms of her definition of what respecting herself may be, So I think it is important that we, one, reflect, and number two, teach our kids some better values.
Right. And also, and I know time is going, um, just not having these high expectations for men and for women,
Right.
and to when men or women decide not to follow those gender expectations, that we don't demonize them for it.
Exactly.
And when women want to have multiple partners, she's seen as a slut or a whore. And if men don't want multiple partners, he's seen as gay, as a faggot. And I think when actually accepting that people are different, um, accepting that that people are different, that they don't follow the same rules as you do. And I think it all comes down to accepting that people are different, that people don't do what you do,
Right.
and it's okay to believe something opposite or believe something different, and
Right.
not thinking that different is bad.
Right.
That you can say that different is good and different is okay. And I may not believe what you believe, but I understand that you believe that, and that's okay. So I think it all comes down to stop looking at things as different is bad,
Right.
but just saying, hey, different is okay. Different is different, and that's it. I don't want to say that different is, if you don't believe it's okay, that's on you. But just know that different is different, and that's something that we can tolerate.
Right. Right. No, for sure. I
Mhm.
definitely agree. I agree with all of that.
All right. Any final thoughts?
No, no. The only thing I can say is, like I said, is everyone just be reflective, try to reprogram your minds, and just really think about where these double standards came from and why they were put into place, and how we can continue to change the narrative so our descendants can live in a little bit more less restrictive world in a sense, with less double standards for males and females. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, girl. Time is ticking. All right.
Right.
So, you guys, Jonisha Jones, you can find her on the TikTok, and she is on Instagram. So I encourage you guys to go to her accounts and follow her
Mhm.
to learn more about her.
Yep.
So, definitely, blow up those accounts, blow up that
Yes.
TikTok, blow up that Instagram.
Yes.
TikTok, she is supernova underscore Jones 39. And on Instagram, she is Jojo underscore San Diego 369. So that
Yes.
information, of course, will be in the description for
Yes.
our audio audience. And those of you watching this right now, it is at the bottom of your screen.
Yep.
But
Right.
listen, if you
Here.
forgot any of this, don't worry. All of this will be in the description. So I encourage you to track down Jonisha.
Track
And
me
I
down,
also want
guys.
to shout out her podcast. It is called Scoff, Another Damn Podcast. You
Hmm.
can listen to our podcast on Anchor, Spotify,
Yeah,
where else?
those two. I'm not on Apple yet. I have to get on Apple now that you mention it. But right now it's just Anchor and Spotify. So definitely I put out a new episode every Sunday. I kind of relaxed last Sunday, but every Sunday I'm putting out a new episode with right now the Are We Protecting Black Women series, and then later on I will go ahead and start doing some more topics and hopefully have my girl Gabby on the show,
Yeah,
discussing a topic
woo,
like we
woo.
did this tonight. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
guys, so check out that podcast. It is on Anchor and Spotify right now, but Jonisha is looking to expand. So
Yep.
hopefully you will hear her podcast on wherever there is a podcast. But for now,
Yes.
it is just Anchor and Spotify. And
Hmm.
that link, of course, will be in the description. It is also on your screen for any viewers right now. So
Yep.
check out her podcast and follow her on TikTok and Instagram. All right, Jonisha, thank you so much for joining me
Thanks, girl. Thank you
today.
so
Awesome.
much.
Great. All right, let me put you off camera now. And it is just you and me, guys. Woo! Wow. I we ran over time, but all right. So I am just going to I'll have to keep my closing brief. But yes, you guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. We have reached the conclusion of our episode. So I encourage you to check out our other episodes, whatever platform you're on. If you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, if you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple or Spreaker or Deezer or wherever there is a podcast, definitely subscribe and follow us and check out our other episodes as well. And this podcast is a production of A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So if you are looking for a tutor for yourself, for your child, if you want to learn more about A Step Ahead Tutoring Services, what we're all about, I encourage you to seek us out. Our website is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. And you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram. We are all over that social media, you guys. So definitely check us out if you want to learn more about us. Again, that website is a step ahead tutoringservices.com. Okay, we ran over time, so I am going to shut down right now. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you at the next episode. All right, you guys, I am now signing off. Bye.